Hi class, I want to give you some video feedback. I'm going to go through these as a first-time site visitor, even though I've looked through all of them and each page. But I want you to get the idea of what someone landing on your site for the first time is experiencing, okay? So, Noah, let's just jump right in. I am on this page because looking at everything you've done, if this is your photo, it's a really strong image, and I feel like it should be on your home page and all the way up here, right? So there's a lot of white space before we actually get to your content, and I think that would be really strong image on your home page, again, if that's one you took. And this is a well-organized page too. We want to be cautious about duplicates, but there aren't too many, and they do match the work that you have here. Be cautious about downloads and things like that. But going to your menu, there's a lot here, and there's so much here that it really distracts from your strongest work. So focus on one skill for this particular site. If you like creating a lot of different content, then one blog page is good for that, and then you can add the content or the work that you created and a little bit about it. And then if the next one is nothing like it, it's okay, because it's organized in a way consistently, and we know that about blogs, okay? But for your site, you want it to be really clear. The be spacious, I wouldn't put it there. You have created media, so that tells us a lot. If you were going to put anything here, it would just be more about this, and that means it would be a very specific, like cinematography, right? But do remove that. It's not quite working. This is working, but that's just sort of an add-on that isn't working for something that would be on every page, and your header is going to be on every page. So going back to your home page, this looks like it would need a header. Sorry, a heading. This is your header. It would need a heading to tell us what it is. But if it's not your strongest, now I see you going towards these purples, and I would just stick with those, okay? Because that's going to tie it your brand together. Make sure you link up, probably a YouTube and an Instagram. And this one doesn't have a heading like we have here. So if you're going to do it here, do it here. If you're going to align this, then align this. Okay, that would come over also. If you can bring it up to here, that's good too. I know sometimes it takes a little finagling there, but you can do it. Consistent spacing. Okay, so this is here. No duplicates. No duplicates. But what I really want to see is that strong piece, and then this can be the colors are good here. This can be part of your project page, but you don't need a lot of other things. The motion graphics, that would be a blog. I like this, but here you've got this 3 or 4 times. So this doesn't need all of this, okay? So think about that. It doesn't need its own page, probably. Probably what it would need is just something that distinguishes it from your other work, which would be, another, like maybe you have this and this, the title that says works or projects or videos, and then under the videos you have another header in the same font, heading in the same font that says motion graphics, and then you have 1 or 2 of that. If you have 1 now, fine. But let's reduce the scrolling and just have a few, and let's make sure we have a heading that says videos there on that page. So I think you get rid of motion graphics. This is by itself. So this is the kind of thing that would either be on a blog, which right now I don't recommend. It's just something for the future. But it's kind of hanging out by itself. So you want to really streamline these things, okay? Yeah, this is a lot of scrolling for content that's not quite ready yet. Not sure what this means, so that would need a description. We just really want to hone in a little bit, reduce the amount of work that you have. These are clearly duplicates, okay? No duplicates, nothing. I know you see the difference, you see the background change and things like that, but think about your site visitor, okay? That looks like Mike Perry. It's work. Think about your site visitor, okay? So you can say graphics and motion graphics, but only choose a couple of examples, a couple of your very best examples. Now this, we're scrolling all the way down to get to a photo and a little bit about you here, but we don't need all of this. We don't even need all of this. We need to get into your content, and you want to watch your framing, right? You need to crop that if that's the image you're going to use, and probably bring this up over here. You can move that over a little. You can edit it to remove some. This isn't where you're going to put your contact, and we always want to remove, this is for everybody, you want to remove the chat icons. We don't need those icons, okay? They're not super professional. Be careful with all of this, okay? And we need your footer. Let me see if it's on your, yeah, you got to have your footer showing. And if you have text down here and it's in white, we can't see it, maybe, but you've got to have that and the date. Okay, so that's important. Then your contact is going to go after your works. It's going to go at the very end. And that's where you're going to have, you don't need this here. Okay? Yeah, this is feeling, it's not feeling like your website so much with all of this. Try to get rid of all the excess. And you can go in and change the background by selecting it. Select that strip, that section, select change background, and you can change it to a color if you want. You just have to make sure you have enough contrast with your lettering if you do that. Okay, and so now this brings us back to your home page. So those are the things that are going to strengthen your work. First, starting with removing things you don't need. Remove pages you don't need. Okay, and make your home page strong. Take this date off of everything. I know we want a description, but you really want it below like this. And this is interesting. That can stay. That's interesting. This we don't want. And I don't know if this is your footer, or if this was created in Wix. I'm not sure where you built this right now. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. It will take some thought in doing that, all right? But I would start with removing the white space, putting this image on your home page, and having this, take that off. All right, I hope that helped. Let's take a look at your mobile. You'll want to change your desktop first. This doesn't seem so bad here, the way, fits a little better. You'll change your desktop first, and then that will affect your mobile. All that space, get rid of all that. Apologize for the siren. line breaks, all of that. So yeah, go through, eliminate, streamline, and then come and look at your mobile to adjust. All right. All right. Give yourself several hours, but again, once you start taking things out and closing space up, you'll see what you have, and you'll be able to do that. But that there's a reason we only ask for 4 pages. A site person who comes to your site doesn't want a lot of options. That just slows them down, and they won't make decisions. So only have your best work and the kind of work you want to do the most of. Right? All right. All right, DeMarcus. Clear logo. It looks like it's cropped. That's the only thing you want to think about. Good. You have your name. You have your skill. You have your pages. I would make this wider so it's not coming down here. You've got a clear headshot with the eye catchlet. There, catchlight in your eye. A little bit of a overlap here to work with, but otherwise, let's see if we have our, okay, there's that.
She redeemed herself. They're about to make a 30 for 30 on this. The redemption story of the mac and cheese, the Thanksgiving tragedy. I come over here to Swap Barbecue, got the smoked mac and cheese.
Okay, good. So hopefully all of them have that. It gets a little tricky when we have this kind of format. Also, make sure that videos do not play automatically. That's for everybody, because you don't know where somebody is, and they want to have control over that. That's a user experience concept that we need to be aware of. Okay, we don't want things to just start playing. So I see that a lot, but that's something you want to do, is go in and turn that off. If you're going to have vertical, then you need to have, put it into a vertical spacing, not into this formatting, and it would be by itself. So I recommend taking that one off because it's slowing things down. Try and find a different thumbnail. You can do that in your settings for this image, for this video, and upload something that, is preferably something that doesn't have text, because it just, gets lost with our titles and play buttons and things. So, something like this is very clean. It doesn't, and as long as you tell us what it is, this could probably be larger. Then you can affect that in your settings as well. But you've done a good job and you've kept it streamlined. Do bring this up, of course. Okay, and you are linked, so that's really good. This is your Gmail, good. You have your form. Okay, so let's, you probably want to close that gap a little. Let's see where we are on the mobile. Okay, yeah, do consider making your header just a little bigger and the logo a little bit smaller. I do like the depth that you have it, the height, but I'm wondering about this, as it does feel cropped. Not sure you need both the written and the icon. I get it, but maybe you don't need that. I know a screen reader is going to read things, so you will think about that. And in week 4, this week, you will go through your site with a screen accessibility application. And it may flag this, accessibility may flag this. This probably should be lighter, right? I know it gives a little bit of color, but maybe you want something in this range, the gold, closer to white. Maybe something like that. Maybe, I don't know if it could stand to be that bold, but it could be the text. But it doesn't have the contrast that we need for that. And okay, but you've been consistent so far. You might want to left align in your mobile, or center that, and you could center that. Things like that you can adjust just for your mobile, and it won't affect your desktop. I don't mind this. You have it looking clean. Another option is to raise your contact and put your links down here, and put your email underneath this. But your colors are working, it's streamlined, it's clean, and it takes work to do that. It takes work to make those decisions and keep things organized. So good job. You don't have much in the way of editing at all, right? Mostly for sure on the desktop with that overlapping heading. Okay, like here. All right, great job. Michael. Okay, so a couple of things. We want to be super careful with images in our heading. It just becomes really hard to read text or any important content. Do select and delete the login. The get started, not sure what that's about. We need a contact, and I'll tell you why we call it contact. When someone is searching for something, they're not looking for get started generally. And I'm not sure what we're getting started in. I have an enroll now. Is it a course? Because nothing tells me that it's a course anywhere. Okay, and this button needs to go. In fact, this could probably go. Be very careful about radial backgrounds and radial buttons. Okay, but try and keep things a little simpler. Okay, text overlapping, check that out. And close your space up. We've got to have a footer down here. That's where you're going to have your content that has your copyright year and your name. Okay, you can make this a little larger. We need a little more space here. And I would make this a little smaller. It is good for readability, for sure. Just would make it a little smaller. And this might work being this high up if this were simpler. This is competing with a lot of things. And, you may love the image, but you don't have to use it here. Okay. Maybe bring this over a little, maybe close that gap just a little, bringing that. If you reduce that, maybe you can get it to where it aligns with this. This probably can come up here, the ninja. Remember, we're trying to reduce scrolling. You almost have that aligned. Okay, wait. All right, we have this. I don't see an about. We need an about link up here that links to this strip. If you look at the tutorial under announcements, there's a troubleshooting, and it tells you how to anchor that, how to link that to that strip, that section. But we've got that image duplicated. We've got this whole strip. It's possible you chose that strip and selected it to show on every page. I'll know when I look at the next one. Yes, that's what you've done. So you only want this on an about page. You don't want it on every page. Okay. And let's center this. Okay. And let's, okay, you have this linked. I'm not a fan of underlining unless it does link to something, and it does. But I also want to just see your email somewhere, like, you know, a little space here and down here, or yeah, but it won't be too bad when you adjust this. Now this background is template, but it doesn't feel like it because possibly you've changed and put an overlay on it. I don't know, in which case that's fine. But if it's the template that comes with it or something we see all the time, then it's not a good idea. It doesn't make us look very original. So contacts should go last. Programs. Okay, this is a template page. So delete that, delete this, and delete this. This isn't a bad contact page, the way it's laid out, but choose one, and then this would have to be completed, and I would probably raise this up a little bit. Now this is a background with this shade over it that might work back here. Okay. All right, so let's check the mobile. Yeah, you want to make sure that there's high enough contrast. That's going. Okay, this has to go. Even if it's something you have planned in the future, all these things are easy to add. This is a good font size. You could use this same on your desktop. This needs to be consistent with that. And probably this would go underneath that. This happens a lot on mobile where things just kind of, the order changes a little bit. So go through there, look for some consistencies. You're going to take this off and put it in an about page. So what you could do is take all this content out. That's where you put your about content. Change the title to about, and then you would go into your pages and menu and name this about and drag it above contact, and then remove that strip from the other pages. All right, doing those things, it's going to come together. All right, so Jessie, great photos, and we've got a little issue here with reflow, right? We look over here. So you want to work that out. Great photo, interesting. You've changed. Nobody can tell what kind of camera it is, so that's great. There's not going to be copyright issues. And you're linked up. We need the year. I know that's something that's the one thing that's not evergreen. We have to go in and update so that people know, at this time, whether it's a current site. Then your contact. Okay, let's move your contact to the end. The blog, great concepts and a good idea. But let's put your contact at the end. Store, I would hide that for now till you have more items. I would hide that page. Pricing, some layout issues. Remove the underlining. I know some fonts have that, but do remove that. And this could probably be a little bit smaller, maybe a heading 2 or something, and then this would have more hierarchy, right? So this, I think you need to clear this space a little bit, bring it down a little, remove the underline, bring it down, make this smaller, make this just a little smaller. Probably don't need a bulleted list. If so, probably align it or take the bullets off. Bring this up a little bit, close that space a little. This isn't a link, so let's not do that. Underline. And again, I would probably left align. Selective or full coverage amount. Event, programs pick. Yeah, you might be able to edit that to where we don't have such short and long lines. That's just a detail, but then bringing this up also. Let's see. And probably this would be a subheading, 4 to 6 hours. This would be a subheading without a bullet. And then these would be what falls under that. And close up some space. This is a good opportunity to give yourself a background, but just a shade, a pale shade, so that you don't have to change the text color. So it's not quite so black and white, which can look good, but I think it's a little empty there. And that's going to go over here. This, I think, we don't need your about here. We've got what you do and your name. But you could take this and try and shorten it. Go through, ChatGPT if you want and say, what's a way to word this to where it's only, 20 words or something. Be specific. And this would be left align. We've got this jagged edge, and we left align because it's easier for the eye to return to the same location when the user is reading instead of having to go to different places. And it gives you a nice straight edge, which keeps it clean. Make sure all of your font, you only have 2 font styles, which you're doing pretty well. You're using the same here. So, yeah. All right. I think that's everything on the desktop. Okay. All right, so let's check out the mobile. Left align. And I think you need to say testimonials because I was confused by someone else's name here. That's just me because I'm used to seeing template a lot. But left align and at least say testimonial in the first one. Have a little header there. But nice. It's discreet enough. Not sure this is a line. Pretty much. That's small, but you need the year. Bring this a little closer maybe so we don't feel like we have so much stacking. We could have that feel more like a group maybe. But I like the way you've done that. And yeah, that's going to be at the end. I would hide the store, the pricing you need. Going to work on that. You could even make pricing a hidden page to where it's a button somewhere, isn't even here. You can go into the page and pages and menu, select the pricing page, select hide, it will still be there, and then on your contact you could say prices and it will click onto that and there that page will be. But you would need a button somewhere to link to it. Okay, all right, good job. Okay, nice, clean, playing, that doesn't have audio, that's good. Nice, and this, the first time I opened that, it animated on, and that was enough. I don't like a lot of animation. It takes up storage space and it's confusing and distracting, but that was not. It's just the right amount if you're going to use it. Nice font. Okay. linked up. Okay. Clear that a little bit. A little more space, between the work and the description. Okay. Same amount of space before your next one. Okay. I probably would try and get this down to 3 lines. All right, let's see. A little bit of space here. One of the things we have to think about when we center a line is what shape is it making. This one's not too bad, it's consistent. Do give it some space under here and consider left aligning it. Okay, good. I can tell that's not a placeholder. Not a fan of cropping heads off. That I'm not a fan of. But kudos for not using a template. Okay. I think we need a little space here. This is working. You're centered in the circle. It's difficult to work with circles and ovals because when we resize, especially with an oval, it tends to adjust the image. Not here, but it does, just as a warning, that they're hard to work with and keep consistent. But it's working here. We don't get into who you are right away, but given everything else is all right, maybe someone will stick with it. This is placeholder, so delete that. Phone number. And let's make sure this is not a home address. Okay, that would have to come off for sure. Let's hope it's your studio or something. Okay. I wish that eye were not covered up because it's a great shot. All right. And that's fine. It's just, keep it in mind in the future. All right, so let's check out the mobile. Okay, we want your name and what you do up here in the header. Checking that out. And checking that. It's a little hard to read in places with the contrast. That might be flagged when you go to test the accessibility this week. Something feels different here. This is spacing, just a hair off. Left a line on your mobile. I would get into who you are a little sooner. This probably could go just a wee bit smaller. Okay. But you do want your name up here, okay? And what you do on every page. So put in your header. All right, great job. I'm really happy with what this group is doing. I know it's not easy and you're working. Set some time aside to make those edits, and I think you're going to be happy with what you have, and you'll be able to send people to your site. I know you're still probably using Instagram. and things to get the word out, but it's nice to have something that's also stationary and doesn't change as often. And you just include new work as you go. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to seeing your edits. Well done.